Good to see you.
That's great.
Where are you guys?
Jack, Grandma. And Melissa's a mommy to be. Got Marilyn,
Not knowing services and not knowing.
and Dawn. Hey, what are they digging for? They're digging for pennies, nickels, dimes, and quarters. We're digging down through a big old pile of sawdust and digging out change. Mom and Dad, Doug, Melissa,
Looking for the rest of the change that's left. You're welcome to go down and do that. There's quite a bit of money still in sawdust, I'm sure. Jamie is going to take the smaller children down here by the swings and do a piñata with candy. So, if you'd like to take the children down there, they'll have to listen to the boring business, and we'll give them an activity to be doing. Here's Jamie's going.
We can't keep up the taxes. So at the end of every season, we have to pass the hat. Give his phone number, so that's a great resource for us. If anybody has a problem, a question, or if they saw a window had been broken and someone needs to look into it immediately, Jonathan is designated as the caretaker. We assume that he'll accept that responsibility. Yeah, some people that love him volunteered him. And next year is Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of July. So the first 3 days of July, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. We've always gotten as close as possible to the 4th of July. We thought this would serve our families best if we just took the weekend. If anybody wants to stay to the 4th and have a flag raising, there'll still be people around Joe's Valley at that time. But the reunion will be 1, 2, 3 July, year 2000. And Jennifer, be the representative. Marilyn, on the steering committee, David and Ronald. And in Stella's family, we suggest Evelyn and Julianne. Can we have all in favor of this steering committee until regularly replaced? Say aye. Aye. All right, now, bear in mind that the steering committee is not to do all the work. They're the ones to think it through, get a plan, make assignments, and go forward. And we're all responsible to help them. Aunt Belle, does that cover everything that we had to cover? Aunt Match, do you think of anything? Okay. The cabin had a casualty on its walk, but it's all been handled, so everything's in order.
Well, Dad,
It's all taken care of.
Dad, what happened is we replaced the lock, and then Merrill went down and didn't have a key, and like all of us, I mean, he was going to drive back to Davenport for a key, so he got in, and then he replaced the lock before he left.
It's all in order, and everybody has to keep it. It was not a break-in. We got a new law. Ronald will explain it, he's aware of it. That's all taken care of. Anybody have another question? Okay, David's in charge. In your hands, Dave.
I'll be bad.
Spending money right now. I will in a little bit. Trick! No. Trick! No, I just brought it back.
Jamie, Janet, Katie. Katie's the other one. Grant.
$5 for course.
Get your bad test.
Joe.
To babysit, he never changed his kid's diaper because his wife came home and his wife said, how can you ever change the baby's diaper? She did a BM in it and it's been sitting here and everything. And he said, well, the package of the diaper says holds up to 25 pounds. Anyway, they're probably getting worse, so I'll end here. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the number I shared with you.
Alex just made up his own self. Why, once there was a little boy went out in the woods to shoot a bear. So he went way in the great woods, he did. And he was going along and going along, and pretty soon he heard something go, boom. It's that way. Boom. And he was scared. He was, and so he ran and climbed a tree. Great big tree he did, a sycamore tree. And then he heard it again. And he looked around and it was a bear, a great big sure enough bear. No, just two bears. It was two great big bears. One of them was just one's a great big bear, but they is both went whoop, and here they come to climb the tree to get the little boy and eat him up. And then the little boy, he's scared, worse than ever. And here comes the great big bear climbing the tree to get the little boy and eat him up. No. It was the big bear that climbed the tree. It is the little bears. So here he comes climbing the tree and climbing the tree. And when he get right close to the little boy, why then, the little boy, he just pulled out his gun and shot the bear. He did, and killed him dead. And then the bear, he fell clean on down the tree, way clean to the ground, he did. Swings plumb. He fell plumb down and killed him too. And lit right side of where the big bear's at. And then the big bear's awful mad, you bet. Because the little boy, he shot his gun and he killed the little bear. Because the big bear, he is the little bear's papa. And so here he comes to climb the big old tree and get the little boy and eat him up. And when the little boy, he saw the great big bear coming, he is scared, battered, he was. And then any time, and so he thinks he'll climb higher, way higher in the tree. And the old bear can climb, but he can't climb higher than the old bear can climb. Because bears can climb up higher in the trees than any little boys in all the world. And so there come the great big bear, he did, climbing up and up the tree to get the little boy and eat him up. And so the little boy, he climbed on higher and higher, higher up the tree and higher and higher, and higher just here at the house is. And here come the old bear closer to him all the time. And then first thing you know, when the old big bear was right close to him, then the little boy jabbed his gun right in the old bear's mouth and shot and killed him dead. No, I forgot. He didn't shoot the great big bear at all. because there's no load in the gun, you know. Because when they shot the little bear, why then, no load stand more than in the gun. But the little boy climbed higher up, he did. He climbed lots higher and on up higher and higher and higher till he just can't climb no higher. Because then the limbs is all so little, way up in the teeny-weeny top of the tree. They break down with you if you don't watch out. Be careful. You look around and there comes the old bear, and so little boy makes his mind. He's got to just get out of there some way. Because there come the old bear, so close his breath, very nice so he can feel how hot it is against his bare feet. Like old Ring's breath. When he's been and he's all tired out. So when the old bear's so close, the little boy just gives a great jump near another tree. You know, an old bear. I tell you what the little boy does. Why then? Why? Yes. The little boy, he finds a hole up there. That's in the tree. And he climbs in there and hides. And the old bear can't find the little boy. Oh, pretty soon, the old bear finds the little boy's gun. That's up there. Because the gun, it's too tall to been took with him. When the old bear finds the gun, he knows the little boy is hide around somewhere. And the old bear begins to stuff his skin around. His skin is stuffed around so he can find out where the little boy's hid at. And oh yes, pretty soon the old bear climbed way out on a big limb, great long limb. The little boy climbed on the hole, climbed in the hole, and then the little boy climbs out of the hole and takes his axe and chops the limb off. Then the old bear falls, plunged clean to the ground, and busted and killed himself, plumb dead he did. And then the little boy was climbing down the tree again. No, he didn't get his gun. Because when the old bear falls, then the gun falls too, and it's broken. All to pieces. The nicest gun. It's fighting. And the little boy, he cries, he climbs down. And sir, when he is hurt nigh down, why then, the old bear has jumped up again, and he ain't dead at all. It's tending that way. So he can get the little boy and eat him up. But the little boy, he is too smart to climb clean down the tree. And the old bear, he could climb up the tree no more. Because when he fell, he broke all of his legs. And then he climbed, and then he couldn't climb. But he just got away. And let the little boy come down out of the tree. And the old bear, he growls around there, he does. He growls and goes all the time. The little boy, you have to stay up in the tree all night and without no supper, ever. Only there was apples on the tree. And little boy had apples all night and cried and cried. Then this morning, the old bear went whoop again and tried to climb up the tree and get the little boy and eat him. He just tear at the ground. So, and oh yes, pretty soon when the morning comes, and all light you can see, you know, why then the old bear finds the little boy's gun, you know. Cat's on the ground, and he ain't broke at all. I said that. So the old bear thinks, you take the gun and shoot him. Bears, they don't know much about guns. So when he goes to shoot the little bear, the old bear got the other end of the gun in his shoulder instead of the other end. So when he tried to shoot the little boy, he shot the bear, it did, and killed him dead. And then the little boy climbed down the tree and chopped his old woody head off, yes, and killed the other bear again, he did, and killed both bears, he did, and took them home and cooked them up good and healthy. That's all.
We knew that we were going to spend a day in Salem, Massachusetts, and knowing that one of our ancestors, Rebecca Nurse,
been tried and executed as a witch during the Salem witch trials, we decided to see if we could find out any information about her. Now, Mother has collected some information and history and so on and so forth, but when we got to Salem, we went to the National Park Service building, and I asked the ranger there, I said, I'm looking for information about one of my ancestors, Rebecca Nurse. Do you know anything about her? She said, oh yeah. She said, and she led me over to this display rack with all these brochures. And so I brought her one for anybody who wants to take one home. As her homestead is still in existence, if you'd like to visit there, there's someone there who can take you through the home and the grounds and so on.
I want to go. Can we go?
Don't ever believe anyone in Massachusetts that says it's real easy to find. It doesn't work that way. Anyway, after this, wandering around, we found that.
And a
Have
bird
any of you been there?
sparrow.
Jack and Aunt Madge, Marilyn and Mother, you've been to her homestead? This was a new experience for us. Before we went to Danvers, we went to the Salem Witch Museum there. And asked the daughters here about their trial. And
I'm sorry to interrupt. Are you saying she was our ancestor?
yes,
Rebecca Nurse was?
I have her on her canopy chart.
Mommy, look at the sparrows first.
Okay.
Well, inside this museum, they have the story of these trials and everything that happened. Portrayed kind of like a diorama. And when you go in the building, you sit on the floor around this circle of these 19 people who were and then they shine the spotlight on these different stories. And hers was a very prominent part of this This is what Peggy and Joyce call a senior moment. I lost the word. I can't think of the name of it. So after while we were there, in the little gift shop, they had an actual transcript of her trial that had been published, and so I bought a copy of that. It's really interesting. So then we went out to Danvers, and that was what was called Salem in the 1600s, and that's where all of this witch stuff started, was in Salem. And we were able to find her homestead, and this building right here is a reproduction of one of the old meeting houses where they held all these trials and so forth, and these examinations of so-called witches. Well, this building was constructed on the grounds there for a 1985 PBS series called Three Sovereigns for Sarah. And I was able to check this out from our local library. And it's a 3-part video telling the story of Rebecca and her 2 sisters, who were all 3 of them accused of being witches. 2 of them were hanged, and Sarah remained to tell the story and prove the innocence of her 2 sisters. This is a wonderful production. I got this from Whitmore, so it was through the Salt Lake County Library. And Vanessa Redgrave stars as Sarah. And all of the exterior shots are on Rebecca's homestead, and the interiors of the homes are inside her actual home. So that was really exciting to me. I mean, I don't pay attention when my mother tells me genealogy stories very well. I have to go and find out.
It's interesting when there's a hanging involved.
That's right. So anyway, this is the meeting house, and we found out that in those days, we think the block time is long today. Their meetings lasted for 3 hours in the morning, 3 hours in the afternoon, and you sat on a wooden bench with no back on it. If you were an adult, if you were a child, you stood in the balcony during this whole time.
If you didn't go to church, you were declared a witch and burned.
That's right.
You find a way to sit.
No heating or, in your building. It's very cold in the winter. And this is a picture of her home. It was built in the 1600s. It's well over 300 years old. Been very well preserved. But none of the furniture inside is original that they can prove actually belonged to her. But it's of the time period. This is her little vegetable garden, or kitchen garden, with plants that were typical of that time. Only two I can remember were rhubarb and asparagus, but they told us that the Danvers half-long carrot came from this Danvers, Massachusetts. And then this is a bed that was like the one that Rebecca was in. She was dragged out of bed by this constable who came to take her to jail. She was 72 years old, had been confined to her bed for weeks. She was a mother of at least 8 children, and just a God-fearing, wonderful woman. But this video really tells the story of all the behind-the-scenes things that happened that led up to these trials, and why certain people were pinpointed and accused of being witches while others weren't.
So the 3-part video series isn't necessarily about Rebecca, it's just about the times.
It's about this whole witchcraft thing and how it got started, who was involved, who the accusers were. All about the minister who played a big part in it.
But it's about this town and these particular people, so it's not about all of New England.
No, it's just of New Salem, and it's all about Rebecca and her 2 sisters. It's really well
You get some
done.
other people.
Some characters are reading, like Sarah.
Yeah, well,
No, Sarah's her sister, so.
Sarah's her sister, and Mary.
Sarah's the one who survived it.
Yeah. Okay, and then this is the front of the home, and it overlooks these beautiful grounds. This homestead was originally 300 acres. That was one of the problems, that they had all this land and neighbors were jealous. And then this was our last day that we were there on our trip, and we knew we were going to get in bad traffic, and in our haste to leave to get where we needed to be, we failed to go to where she was buried. Now, after she was hanged on this hanging tree with 4 other people that day, they wouldn't allow them to be buried underground like the righteous people because they were witches. And so during the night, her son came and retrieved her body and took it back to the farm, and she's buried there on the farm, but they wouldn't tell anyone for years afterward exactly where. But now they put a monument up to her there on the farm itself, and we failed to go there. I feel really badly, so I guess it'll be a good excuse to go back sometime. But in the town of Danvers, they put up a memorial to these 19 people, and it's a very lovely monument, just very plain, and then the names of the 19, her name is right there, Rebecca Mercer. And then I have a family group sheet and a pedigree chart that shows how we descend to her. So, anyway, I just thought it was really interesting. Yes.
When they talk about the Salem witch trials, were those the ones in New Salem, or was there a New
It
Salem?
spread from New Salem into Salem and surrounding communities until at one time there were about 200 people who were accused. And it was just like, I don't like you. She's a witch. She's laying over there and she's looking at me kind of with a frown on her face. Yeah.
But are you saying it began in New Salem?
New Salem, which is now called Danvers. And it's about 5 to 6 miles away from the actual town of Salem. Any other questions or comments? Anyway, this was just really exciting for me to be able to go there and actually find her home
heard on TV, I guess it was TV or radio only about a month ago, that they said that descendants of those 3 girls that complained against her had asked to be forgiven.
Yes, they did. It was on the 50-year anniversary.
Oh, and I heard that. It was real interesting to think that
In the church, 50 years later, they stood and confessed. Well, the actual girl, after she grew up, yeah, she stood and confessed So, anyway, I really like this production because I felt like it was very historically accurate and it didn't deal a lot with what sensationalism like it did in some movies, to talk about those types of things.
Our dog that you've seen is being raised by our son Ryan. Ryan's excused today. He's up visiting his grandparents in Washington. But he's raising a service dog for either hearing impaired or someone in a quadrip or paraplegic condition. And we have the dog for a year. He has the dog for a year. It's actually his project. We're all getting sucked up into it. So, the dog's name's Keely. It's a female yellow lab, full blood. And we have her for a year, and then she goes back to California for advanced training. And hopefully she makes the cut. Only 50% of all the dogs that go back for advanced training, make it into the program. So we're hopeful that she'll be able to make the cut. We had Mother asked us to tell you about the family from Uruguay that we had with us for a week. In early July, they came with a singing group, 38 of them from Uruguay, to come to our state. The lady in our state, our ward actually married a Uruguayan, and their singing group that came to an international music festival of all places in Pocatello, Idaho, for a week. So we had them for a week. It was real interesting because they spoke no English, we spoke no Spanish. And so we were on the phone with every returned missionary from our ward that wanted to translate for us. But we had just one quick experience with them. You have to remember, it was the July 4th weekend is the weekend that we had them. And we wanted to take them to the canyon for a picnic. We knew it'd be loaded. But the woman who kind of arranged this whole thing, who'd married the Uruguayan fellow, she told us later that she had prayed the night before that we'd find a place in the canyons to be able to take these 38 people plus their hosts up for a canyon activity. And when we got up to one place that we picked in Big Cottonwood Canyon, it was filled. And she kept saying, this woman kept saying, let's go down to Storm Mountain, let's go down to Storm Mountain. And we went down there and drove in, and the ranger, we got talking to him, and he says, yeah, I have a place big enough for your group. And when we got talking to him further, he had served a mission in 1947 to Uruguay. He was one of the first missionaries in there. And he was the ranger. And the woman, an older member of this choir, she was in her early 60s, he taught her sister and baptized her in Uruguay. And so, so when we were telling him about all these things, and then this lady went up to him, she said, and I prayed to Heavenly Father, I told him that he had to find us a place because I knew it'd be full. And he goes, ooh, you're giving me the chills. So anyway, it was a great experience, and we wrote our testimonies of the Book of Mormon in Spanish. We had a lady come over and do that for us, and we will never know, the impact of that. But we feel really good about it. There were only 5 members out of 38 that came. Only 5 were members of the church. They got to go to the Tabernacle Choir broadcast, and they love Salt Lake City. And when they think of America, I know they'll think of
Great. Oh, that's good. Something about my father. That's S.A. Harris would be a grandfather or a great-grandfather to some of you. And I wondered if you knew that he wrote a lot of poetry. I counted him. He wrote 34 nice poems, and most of them were love poems to my mother. And I think for some of us, when we think of someone that old, we forget that they've been young and romantic and so on, and that's all I wanted to tell you was just that about my father and his great love for my mother. And after church, he'd always say, you were the prettiest, she sang in the choir, and he'd always say, you were the prettiest woman in the whole choir. And to him, she really was. Of course, I thought she was a very lovely woman too, but I thought maybe you hadn't ever heard that part of my father, because some of you would remember him as a farmer, and some would remember that he'd been a school teacher. But I wanted you to remember that he was really romantic and really was in love with my mother.
Somebody has compiled a lot of those poems, because we have a little paperback book. Who did that? Was that you or Aunt Belle? Or? Okay, so if you're interested, there's some copies of that.
Yeah, we do have copies. Yeah. And they are. They're very nice, and some of them love the animals, some of them are about the dogs and our horses, things that happened around in our childhood. And if anybody read them, you realize more how our generation grew up.
Thank all of you for coming. And gee, I'm glad to see somebody turn out. At first, about 11 o'clock, we had a kind of a small gathering. I figured that all of a sudden they all came. So we got a really good turnout.
Yeah, Casey guessed there was over 80 people. We were here at one point, it was about 30. We were getting a little nervous. So about 80 plus.
We've got a list, and I haven't counted it, but we've got a list, and in fact, I'm going to turn that list over to you, Marilyn, so you can maybe put it, because your family's got it next time, and just add it in